In a quiet diner, a mysterious customer leaves more than just a tip behind. She places handwritten notes of encouragement beneath every plate she serves. The evening rush was almost over when Emily, a 25-year-old waitress with chestnut brown hair always tied into a neat ponytail, pale skin and soft hazel eyes that often looked tired, cleared a corner table. She was wiping crumbs off the surface when she noticed something unusual, a small folded piece of paper tucked beneath the salt shaker. Curious, she unfolded it. In neat handwriting it read, "You're doing a wonderful job. Don't forget that you matter." Emily froze, staring at the words. No one had ever left her anything like that. Customers usually left behind dirty dishes, crumpled napkins, or sometimes a tip if she was lucky. But this was different. She looked around the diner, hoping to spot the writer, but the seats were empty. The bell above the door jingled, signaling another customer leaving, but she was too late to know if it was them. For the rest of the shift, Emily couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious note. It felt like a tiny spark in the middle of her exhausting day, a reminder that maybe someone out there saw her. Emily's life was far from glamorous. At 25, she carried more weight on her shoulders than most her age. Her days started early and ended late, with little time left for herself. She wore the same faded diner uniform every day, a sky blue dress with white trim, always slightly wrinkled despite her best attempts at ironing, and an apron pocket stuffed with order slips. Her soft hazel eyes, though kind, often carried dark circles from sleepless nights. Bills piled up at home. Rent was always just barely covered, and though she smiled at customers, inside she constantly fought against doubt and exhaustion. She had long ago accepted that life wasn't easy, yet that single piece of paper had shaken something in her. It was strange how a stranger's words could carry such unexpected warmth. As she walked home that night through dimly lit streets, she kept the note in her pocket, unfolding it again and again. For the first time in weeks, her lips curled into a genuine smile. She wondered if it was just a one-time kindness or if fate had something else in store for her. The following evening, Emily approached her shift with a strange sense of anticipation. She told herself not to expect anything, but part of her secretly hoped another note would appear. Hours passed with nothing unusual, just the clatter of plates, the hum of conversation, and the occasional rude customer who snapped their fingers at her for more coffee. Still, something in her chest waited. Then, just before closing, Emily returned to the same corner table. Her heart skipped when she spotted another folded slip, this time peeking out from under the napkin holder. With shaky fingers she opened it. "Even on the hardest days, you are stronger than you know." Her hazel eyes watered as she read. It felt as though whoever wrote these notes could see right through her, as if they knew the battles she carried silently. She pressed the note against her chest, looking around again. But once more no one suspicious lingered, just empty tables and the faint buzz of the neon sign outside. The words stayed with her as she cleaned, and for the first time in months she whispered softly to herself, "Maybe I am strong enough." It didn't take long before her fellow waitresses noticed Emily's lighter mood. Normally quiet and reserved, she started humming under her breath as she refilled coffee cups, her ponytail bouncing slightly with each step. "What's gotten into you?" teased Carla, a co-worker with curly blonde hair and a laugh that could fill the entire diner. Emily hesitated, unsure if she should share her secret, but eventually she showed Carla the folded notes she had tucked safely inside her apron. Carla's eyes widened. "Wow, that's actually really sweet, but also kinda weird, don't you think? What if it's some creepy guy?" Emily frowned. She hadn't thought about it that way. To her, the notes felt pure, like they were written with no agenda but kindness. She shook her head. "I don't think so. Whoever it is, they just want to help." Carla smirked but didn't push. Still, rumors spread among the staff. The cook, an older man with salt and pepper hair named Martin, overheard and chuckled. "Sounds like you've got yourself a secret admirer." Emily blushed, denying it quickly, but the thought lingered. Were the notes truly just encouragement, or was there more behind them? The third night, Emily's hazel eyes kept wandering toward the corner table even before it was filled. When the bell above the door chimed, her gaze caught a woman in her early 30s with slick black hair, tan skin, and glasses that framed sharp, intelligent eyes. She sat quietly at the corner, ordered a simple bowl of soup, and spent most of her time scribbling in a small notebook. Emily served her politely, but her heart raced. Could this be the one? Throughout the meal, the woman barely looked up except to thank Emily softly with a warm smile. There was something calming about her presence. When she left, Emily hurried over to the table. Her breath caught as she found another note folded neatly beside the bowl. "The world is brighter because you are in it." Tears pricked Emily's eyes as she read it. This time she was certain. The mysterious note leaver wasn't a man but this quiet, thoughtful woman. Emily slipped the paper into her apron, her chest swelling with gratitude. She didn't know the woman's name, but now she had a face, and suddenly she couldn't wait for their next meeting. The following evening, Emily's shift began with a flutter of nervous energy. She couldn't stop glancing at the door, waiting for the mysterious woman with sleek black hair, tan skin, and glasses to return. Hours passed, and her hope began to fade. Just as she was about to give up, the bell jingled, and there she was, walking in quietly, notebook tucked under her arm. Emily's hazel eyes lit up as she hurried to greet her. "Good evening," Emily said, her voice softer than usual. The woman smiled, her intelligent eyes warm behind her glasses. "Hello again. A cup of tea tonight, please." Emily scribbled the order and then, almost without thinking, asked, "May I have your name? For the ticket, of course." The woman paused for a moment, then answered gently, "Clara, Clara." The name rolled around Emily's mind, feeling almost musical. As she brought the tea, she noticed Clara writing in her small notebook again, her pen gliding smoothly as though every word mattered. When Clara left, Emily found another folded slip of paper. Even the smallest kindness can change someone's world. Now, with a name and a face, Clara was no longer a mystery. She was becoming a beacon in Emily's life. That night, as Emily walked home beneath the flickering street lamps, she clutched Clara's newest note tightly. The words lingered in her chest. Even the smallest kindness can change someone's world. They felt almost like a whisper of truth, something she had forgotten in the exhaustion of her daily grind. Emily thought of the countless times she had forced a smile for rude customers, or slipped a few extra fries on a child's plate to make them grin. Maybe those small things did matter. Maybe she mattered. At home, she sat on her bed with her stack of notes spread out before her. She read each one slowly, tears welling in her hazel eyes. Her life had been gray for so long, work, bills, stress, but Clara's notes were like tiny sparks of color, reminding her she wasn't invisible. She began taping the notes on her bedroom wall, arranging them neatly in rows. As the wall filled, so did her heart. For the first time in months, she felt hope stirring within her. Emily didn't know why Clara had chosen her, but she knew one thing. These words were healing wounds she hadn't admitted were even there. The change in Emily didn't go unnoticed. She began greeting customers with a brighter smile, her soft hazel eyes shining even after long hours. She hummed while balancing trays of food, her chestnut ponytail swaying lightly as she moved from table to table. Customers who had once ignored her now paused, surprised by her warmth. Tips grew a little bigger and conversations lingered a little longer. Carla, ever the curious coworker, nudged her one night. "Okay, spill. You're glowing. Either you're in love or you've got a secret I need to know about." Emily laughed, shaking her head. "Not in love. Just reminded that I matter, I guess." Carla squinted suspiciously, then smirked. "It's the note lady, isn't it?" Emily blushed but didn't confirm. Yet, deep down, she knew Carla was right. Clara's words had planted seeds of courage and worth inside her. Emily found herself looking forward to work, not just for the paycheck, but for the possibility of another folded slip waiting on the table. The notes weren't just changing her mood, they were changing the way she saw herself. Despite her newfound glow, doubt still crept in at night. Lying in bed, Emily stared at the ceiling and wondered, why me? Out of all the waitresses in the diner, why had Clara chosen her? Was it pity? Did she look that broken, that desperate for kindness? The thought gnawed at her, threatening to undo the confidence she was slowly building. One particularly hard day, a customer snapped at her over a missing order, leaving her trembling as she retreated to the kitchen. The words, "You're useless," echoed cruelly in her mind. By the end of the shift, her shoulders sagged with old familiar heaviness. But as she wiped down the corner table, she spotted another note. Her fingers shook as she opened it. "You are more than the unkindness of others. Don't let their voices drown out your own." Emily's chest tightened. It was as if Clara had known what she needed to hear at that exact moment. Her hazel eyes filled with tears, but this time they weren't from pain, they were from relief. Clara's words reminded her she wasn't defined by cruel strangers, but by her own strength and resilience. Days turned into weeks, and a quiet bond began to form between Emily and Clara. Though they exchanged only brief words during orders, there was an unspoken understanding between them. Emily noticed the way Clara's intelligent eyes softened whenever she smiled, and Clara, in turn, seemed to pay careful attention to Emily's mood each night. The notes continued, each one more thoughtful than the last. Emily began carrying one in her apron pocket at all times, drawing strength from it whenever the weight of the world pressed down. She never confronted Clara about them directly, but part of her longed to. Still, she feared breaking the magic by naming it too soon. To Emily, Clara wasn't just a customer anymore. She was an anchor, a presence that reminded her she was seen. And though the words were silent, folded neatly on a table after each meal, They spoke louder than anything Emily had ever heard before. The diner had always been a place of routine and exhaustion, but now it had become the setting of a quiet miracle, one she wasn't ready to let go of. Emily's small apartment slowly transformed because of Clara's notes. The once bare gray walls of her bedroom were now filled with handwritten encouragement, each slip of paper carefully taped into a growing collage she called her wall of hope. Every morning before slipping into her sky-blue diner uniform, she stood before it, tracing the words with her fingertips. The messages ranged from "You're stronger than you know" to "The world is brighter because you are in it." They became her morning ritual, her armor against the struggles of the day. Her co-workers teased her lightly when she admitted she kept the notes on display. Carla joked, "Sounds like your secret girlfriend is decorating your place." But Emily only smiled shyly. It wasn't romance, at least not in the way they imagined. It was something deeper. Clara's words made her feel worthy, something she hadn't experienced in years. The wall grew each week, a mosaic of kindness and resilience that reminded her she wasn't invisible. Sometimes Emily caught herself wondering if Clara had any idea of the difference she was making. Did she know how her carefully chosen words had kept Emily going on nights when she wanted to give up? The thought made Emily's heart ache with gratitude. One evening, as Clara sat in her usual corner with her notebook, Emily felt the urge to ask her directly about the notes. Her hazel eyes kept drifting to Clara's face, framed by sleek black hair, her glasses reflecting the diner lights as she scribbled. Emily's heart pounded. What if she ruined it by speaking? But what if Clara stopped leaving notes and Emily never got the chance to thank her? Emily approached the table with Clara's tea, her chestnut ponytail bouncing nervously. She opened her mouth but closed it again. Clara glanced up, her warm, knowing smile disarming Emily completely. "Thank you," Clara said softly. Emily wanted to reply, "No, thank you. You're the reason I can breathe easier now." But the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she nodded and walked away, her apron pocket heavy with the anticipation of another note. Later, as she collected Clara's empty cup, the folded slip was there as always. This one read, "Some connections don't need words to be understood." Emily froze, her breath catching. Did Clara somehow know what she had been thinking? The bond between them deepened, though unspoken, as if Clara could hear Emily's heart. One night, the sky darkened with heavy clouds, and rain battered the diner's windows. The streets outside were empty, the neon sign flickering against the storm. Emily was exhausted, her sky-blue uniform damp from helping mop the entrance where customers had trailed in water. She glanced at the corner table, and to her relief, Clara was there, sipping tea and writing as though the storm didn't exist. The diner was nearly empty when the lights flickered and dimmed, a brief power surge rattling everyone inside. Emily laughed nervously, making light of it for the two remaining customers, but her heart was restless. The storm felt heavy, almost symbolic of her past struggles. When she cleared Clara's table, another note awaited her. "Even in the darkest storms, your light can't be put out." Emily clutched it, her hazel eyes stinging. Outside, lightning split the sky, but inside her chest a warmth grew that the storm couldn't touch. Clara stood to leave, umbrella in hand, and for the first time, Emily whispered, "Thank you." Clara turned, her glasses glinting as she smiled softly and nodded without a word before disappearing into the rain. Over the following weeks, Emily's life began to shift in small but profound ways. The notes had not only lifted her spirits, they had given her courage. She started speaking up more at work, offering suggestions to the manager about better scheduling, and even standing her ground with rude customers. Carla noticed it first. "You've got a backbone now, girl. I like this version of you." Emily also began volunteering her time at the local library on her rare afternoons off, helping children with reading. The joy she saw in their faces reminded her of Clara's notes, how a single kind word could shape someone's day or even their future. She began writing her own slips of encouragement, short phrases on colorful sticky notes, and slipping them into library books. Maybe this is how it spreads, she thought. Each time she did, she thought of Clara and the quiet bond they shared. Emily had gone from someone barely surviving to someone who believed she could make a difference. And while she still didn't fully understand Clara's motives, she knew one truth. Those notes had planted seeds of change, and they were growing in ways she never imagined. One evening, Emily arrived for her shift, her hazel eyes scanning the diner for the familiar figure in glasses and sleek black hair. But Clara wasn't there. The corner table sat empty all night. Emily tried to focus on her work, balancing trays and offering smiles, but her heart felt heavy with disappointment. She found herself checking the table each time she passed by, half expecting a folded slip to appear out of nowhere. The absence gnawed at her. What if Clara never returned? What if the notes had come to an end? Panic and sadness bubbled within her chest as she realized just how deeply she had come to rely on those small pieces of paper. When the shift ended, Emily stood by the empty table, her fingers brushing against the smooth surface. For the first time in weeks there was nothing left for her, no encouragement, no words to hold on to. She walked home in silence, the streets unusually cold and unforgiving. That night her wall of hope felt incomplete. She stared at it for hours, whispering, "Please come back." She didn't know if Clara would, but she realized something important. Her strength couldn't just come from the notes anymore. It had to grow from within her too. After 2 long nights without seeing Clara, Emily's hope began to flicker. She worked through her shifts with forced smiles, her hazel eyes constantly glancing toward the door. The corner table remained empty, and with each passing evening the ache in her chest grew heavier. But on the 3rd night, just as she was stacking menus at the counter, the bell above the door chimed, and there she was. Clara stepped in, her sleek black hair damp from the evening drizzle, glasses fogged slightly as she removed them to clean. Emily's heart leapt, her chestnut ponytail bouncing as she hurried over to greet her. "It's good to see you again," Emily said softly, her voice betraying how much she had missed her. Clara smiled, her intelligent eyes warm. "It's good to be back." Throughout the meal, Emily wanted to ask where she had been, but she held back, afraid of overstepping. When Clara left, a folded slip sat waiting once more. Emily opened it with trembling hands. "Even when I'm not here, remember, you already carry the strength inside you." Tears filled Emily's hazel eyes. It was as though Clara had known exactly what she needed to hear. The bond between them deepened, more powerful than ever. The next evening, Emily couldn't hold back anymore. As she placed Clara's tea gently on the table, she lingered, her hazel eyes meeting Clara's thoughtful gaze. "Can I ask you something?" Emily began, her voice trembling slightly. Clara set her pen down, folding her hands neatly over her notebook. "Of course." Emily's chestnut ponytail swayed nervously as she leaned in. "Why me? Why all the notes?" Clara studied her for a moment, her glasses catching the soft glow of the diner lights. Then she smiled, gentle but steady. "Because you looked like you needed them, and because once someone did the same for me." Emily froze, her breath catching. She hadn't expected that. Clara continued, her voice quiet but full of conviction. "Kindness saved me when I thought I was invisible. Now I try to pass it on, one note at a time." Emily's hazel eyes shimmered with tears. "You have no idea how much they've meant to me." Clara's smile deepened. "I think I do." For the first time, their bond wasn't silent. It was spoken raw and honest, and Emily felt her heart swell with gratitude. Inspired by Clara's words, Emily began to do more than simply receive encouragement. She started spreading it herself. Armed with colorful sticky notes and a borrowed pen, she wrote small messages of kindness and tucked them into unexpected places. Under coffee cups, inside library books, even on the diner's bulletin board. Messages like, "You are enough," and "Someone out there is grateful for you." Her coworkers noticed. Carla discovered one tucked into her locker, and when she read it, her usually loud laughter softened into something tender. "You're rubbing off on me, Emily," she teased, though her eyes glistened with emotion. Even Martin, the gruff cook with salt and pepper hair, found a note in the kitchen. "Your hard work matters more than you know." He didn't say much, but his usual scowl softened for the rest of the shift. The ripple effect was undeniable. Customers began leaving the diner with lighter hearts, and the staff seemed more united than ever. Clara's encouragement had sparked something in Emily, and now Emily was becoming that spark for others. When she stood before her wall of hope at night, Emily realized it wasn't just about receiving anymore. It was about sharing the light she'd been given. One evening, Clara arrived as usual, but something about her demeanor was different. Her sleek black hair was pulled back, and her notebook rested closed on the table instead of open. Emily sensed the shift immediately, her hazel eyes narrowing in concern. "Is everything okay?" she asked gently. Clara smiled softly, though there was a sadness in her intelligent eyes. "Yes, but I won't be coming here as often anymore. Work is taking me to another city." Emily's chest tightened. She felt the world tilt slightly under her feet. "Oh," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I see." Clara reached across the table, resting her hand briefly over Emily's. "You don't need me anymore, Emily. You've already found your strength." When Clara left that night, she placed one final folded slip on the table. Emily opened it with tears streaming down her cheeks. It read, "Carry this forward. You are the note now." Emily clutched it against her chest. It wasn't an ending, it was a passing of the torch. Clara had given her something priceless, not just encouragement, but belief in herself. Months passed, and though Clara no longer visited, her presence lingered in every corner of the diner. Emily, now radiant with confidence, continued leaving her own notes wherever she could. Customers smiled when they found them, co-workers cherished them, and even strangers who wandered into the diner left with a piece of encouragement tucked into their hands. Her wall of hope at home was complete, but it no longer stood alone. Her kindness was spreading into the world. She had become what Clara believed she could be, a giver of light. One evening, as Emily cleared the corner table, she smiled to herself and placed a note of her own under the salt shaker. In neat handwriting it read, "The world is brighter because of you. Pass it on." She didn't know who would find it, but that was the beauty of it. The diner was no longer just her workplace. It was the place where a quiet miracle had begun, one note at a time. And as she looked around at the smiling faces, Emily whispered softly to herself, "Thank you, Clara." Then she turned to the camera of her own story, inviting others to join. If this touched you, subscribe for more stories of kindness.